Riviera Cash Flow Show. Charlie Mack at your service. Today we're doing a little R&R, playing the Raven here at Sandestin.
Hey.
Hey!
Don't let nobody come in on me.
All right. Anyway, the weather cleared up, and even though it's winter time, we're in Florida. That's right. Got my car. Yeah, there's been a lot of activity in commercial real estate over the last few years, and the question is there still opportunity in the marketplace? And I think it varies by different asset classes. Well, we've pursued a couple apartment complexes in our market in the last couple of years, but we're outbid. The competition is strong. A lot of, let's say, regional players that operate in the Southeast have branched out from secondary markets into tertiary markets, and obviously the Gulf South region where we're at, Panhandle, Florida, Northwest Florida, is a tertiary market, and so you see buyers from Atlanta, Raleigh, Nashville, Birmingham. A few years ago they were taking advantage of opportunities in their own market or other larger markets, but as those opportunities and transactions occurred, they have to keep a certain amount of deal pipeline going to keep deploying funds. A lot of the larger companies will raise money on a continual basis, and they'll have a 6-month window to deploy that capital and close on some deals. And if they don't find anything to close on, or they don't close, they have to give the money back, and so they don't earn any fees for all that effort, all that work. So we've seen that in the last couple of years. So there was I think it was a 90 unit, maybe it was a little bit more, older complex over in Fort Walton Beach that was in the process of being rehabbed by the owner, but they had owned it for a long time. I think they had done a few units just to show kind of proof of concept that they could renovate and raise rents, and so they did that up on a few units and then put the property on the market. And we bid on it, thinking that our going in cap rate would probably be somewhere around 8.5, and we were thinking we could raise rents to increase the overall income over the next 24 months, and it would turn out to be closer to a 10.5, 11 cap within the first 2 years. Anyway, a group out of Raleigh, North Carolina, had the same idea, and they were willing to go to in the 7s on a going in cap rate. And these were older buildings, built in the 70s. I think they were concrete block, so structurally they were fine, but reworking some of the systems, the mechanical systems, was going to be an expense. And back in the day, a lot of those apartment complexes were designed where the bedrooms are really kind of small, the kitchens were kind of small, and then the living room was large. Where today you have more of a balance of the sizes. You might still have the same size unit overall, but the balance of the space gives a little bit more credence to the bedrooms and the kitchen, instead of having a dining area, large living room, and then have a cramped bedroom or a cramped kitchen. So that kind of stuff is really hard to change. So you can't just go in and start moving walls around in every unit. Typically you want to be able to go in resurface all your material with your flooring and maybe your countertops and that kind of thing. But moving walls around gets to be, too cost prohibitive. Anyway, so we lost out on that deal. I'm not concerned because I don't chase deals. The deal, the Century, comes along about once a week if you know where to look. That deal was broadcast everywhere locally. LoopNet, a local broker, his family owned the deal, and didn't really have any high motivation to sell. But if someone came in and met their number, then they sold. And so that group out of Raleigh came in. This is probably about a year and a half ago. First thing they did was got rid of a bunch of tenants so they could go in and renovate the units. So they started doing an interior renovation. At the same time, the occupied units, those buildings, got an exterior renovation. And so typically that's what will happen. You'll have two crews going at once. You'll have interior renovation crew, you get rid of 10 tenants or something, don't renew their lease, and start working the insides. And then the ones that are occupied or in a longer lease, you start working the outside on those. And by the time you're done with the outside, those leases are up. Kick those tenants out or move them to the new units, and then renovate those interiors as well. So anyway, there was that one, and then there was a couple other ones. There was a couple small ones that people were pitching to me, and from past videos you might remember that we don't like small deals really under 50 units. Because the numbers, the economies of scale, and the management doesn't work as well when you only have 10 or 12 or something like that. So we haven't bought an apartment complex in a while, and the situation has gotten even worse where cap rates have fallen. So to buy something in the 7s is going to be probably the standard. 7s meaning cap rate on the current income, and to me that's just too rich for my blood. We need to be paid for our investment. There's, believe it or not, there is some risk in apartments, especially in markets where the barriers to entry are low, meaning there's available land and a pro development situation at City Hall or the county where they're looking to bring in more units. A lot of older buildings are in infill locations, kind of in the center of town, which is good. But nothing's to say that they won't tear down a big box store like a Kmart or something that went dark, and all of a sudden they've got 8-10 acres and there's another 150 units going in. Now granted, that's going to be a higher price point, but that competition does eventually start to erode the amount of demand that's out there. So going back to the basics of economy or economics, we always look at supply and demand, try to find an imbalance where we're buying or selling, and try to determine what the imbalance is, what it's biased towards, and then make the appropriate move based on the market. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one short and go ahead and wrap it up. This is the Riviera Cash Flow Show. Mr. Mack, your host.